Welcome to More Than Legal, the show where we go behind the scenes to uncover the fine print of power, purpose, and profit. I'm your host, attorney Danielle Laughlin. After almost 2 decades in the trenches of courtrooms and boardrooms, I have learned that every move leaves a mark and every deal tells a story. What will we uncover today? Let's find out. Hey, real quick, before we dive into the episode, remember, nothing you hear on this podcast is intended to be legal, financial, or tax advice. I invite you to contact any of the guests you hear by looking in the show notes for their contact information, or if you'd like to reach out to me, you can find my contact information at daniellelaughlin.com. All right, now let's get into it. Hey, welcome to More Than Legal. I am so excited to introduce you to someone who is not just an expert at what they do, but who I have found to be a like-minded friend. Will Bearden is here today to talk to you about his journey as an entrepreneur and the lessons he's learned, not just in that role, but also in his expertise in finance and wealth creation. Will is the co-founder and co-owner of PSA Wealth here in Atlanta, and they do a myriad of things. So I'm not going to try to even butcher that part of it. I'm going to let you take it away, Will, and tell the audience in your own words, what do you do and why do you do it?
Yeah, Danielle, thanks so much for having me on today, and thank you for the intro. For everybody out there, like you said, I own a company called PSA Wealth. We are a fee-based financial planning company here, really based in Atlanta. We work with clients all over the country. It all started, I was a college football player down the road at West Georgia, wanted to be a college football coach. That was my dream and aspiration. That took me down the path of becoming a high school football coach and teacher. I got a business degree, got an MBA, and then just landed in a classroom teaching and coaching here in Gwinnett County, right down the road, and had a good friend at the gym that I knew that was like, hey, have you ever thought about financial services, financial planning? And I said, no, not at all. But I think that'd be really cool because I could still coach football, what I love to do, and do this. So long story short, me and my business partner, Peter, created PSA Wealth about 3 years ago. And we really had the mission to not just run a solo practice and work with anybody and everybody. We wanted really to niche down and focus on the clients that we had experience with that needed the most help. And for us, that is a closely held family business. A lot of our clients are 25 to 45 years old. They have growing businesses. They have cash flow problems. They have tax problems. They have investment problems, estate problems, right? And we really try and be the financial quarterback, the glue to bring it all together and really build a plan instead of having one singular, giving them advice just on investments, right? Just on insurance, just on tax. We try to be comprehensive in what we do. So that was a long-winded answer, but yeah, that's us.
I love it because it shows the passion and, the coming from teaching where it's never about you. It's always about your students, right? Like everything you do as a coach and as a teacher is to pour into those students and those athletes. And then now, and so you just have so much passion here to go in. And also you have your education, right? It's not like you were like, yeah, I just kind of floated along and then I decided to go into business. No, you actually studied that. So it's a really beautiful story. And it explains a lot about you and just who you are, because one of the reasons I invited you today is your magnetism. You are a person that's very giving. You're constantly sharing your knowledge with people and you do it very freely. And so it's that teaching skill, I think, that kind of comes out there, and coaching, of course, too. So I appreciate that you went deeper in that explanation. I think that gives everybody here listening a little more insight into why you care so much about what you do. So we know now kind of how you got into all of this, but what really motivated you to be a leader? Like, even teaching is a leadership role. So how did you decide that you had the courage, dare I say, and the motivation to be a leader really early on in your life?
Yeah, I would say not a lot's changed. I still feel like I'm in education, right? I still coach and teach every day, just doing something different, right? It's just not in a classroom setting. I tell people, I joke, if I can teach ninth graders geometry, I can teach anybody anything. Um, so if we want to talk about the Pythagorean theorem today, we can do that.
Please
Um,
no, please no.
yeah, yeah, I'll save you that part. But what I've always had a strong belief in is, my core values and my mission personally are just do what you say, serve others, and bring change. And that's always really what I've strive to do. But my day to day, the vehicle has just changed, right? It went from teaching and coaching to financial planning. I still feel like I do the same thing. My goal is just to have a positive impact on those around me every day. And whether that is, like I said, in the classroom or sitting in front of a client at a networking event on a podcast, that's really all I'm trying to do, is to maybe provide a little bit of goodwill and service, positive service to the world any way I can.
Absolutely. And no better way to do that than with family owned businesses.
Right.
I, I mean, right? Like we talk about legacy. I'm big on legacy, but legacy only matters when there's something more than profit, right? And profit's important. Can you talk about that? How do you
Mhm.
talk about that with your clients?
For sure. And I think a big assumption in our world, financial advisory, wealth management, is that we're all about money, right? The only thing we care about, the only thing we look at is money. And really that's not true. With really all of our clients, we try to educate on what the word wealth means. And it's so much more than just financial and the bottom line and and making money and charging clients more and all that stuff. That is a very important part of what we do. There's more to your personal, spiritual wealth, right? Your physical
Right,
wealth,
right.
how you interact with your family, how you interact with your clients. And we really try to get to the root cause of what our clients needs are and our problems are. And sometimes we go beyond the scope of just talking to our clients about how we increase their financial wealth. But hey, how much money are we investing to staying healthy?
Right.
Right? At
Oh,
the
I
end of the
love it.
day, our only job on this earth is to stay healthy. You could have $1 billion. I'm stealing this from Jesse Itzler. I'm a huge Jesse Itzler
I
fan.
love
Yeah.
Jesse. Shout
Um,
out.
I just heard him speak in Montreal last week, and he's amazing.
Awesome.
But he's like, if you had $1 billion, you had your own private island, you're living the dream, and you have a scratchy throat, the only thing you're worried about is your scratchy throat.
It's so true. It's
Right.
so true. And he's such a great storyteller, right? Like he really gets to the point. I saw him in Atlanta a few years ago. It was so inspiring. He does so much with his presentations too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's
And Jesse and his wife, right? He's married to Sarah
yeah. Yeah,
Blakely,
Sarah. Yeah.
and they're all about their family everywhere. They put it on blast. Do you talk about your family with your clients?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a big part of, you know, we love working with young entrepreneurs, right? I selfishly love that because I am one.
Right.
I've got a 2 year old at home. I'm married, and so like a lot of what we teach and coach is exactly kind of what we're doing. And I can say I'm walking the walk. I can't say that I've worked 35 years and I'm going to retire, but I can say that I've started a business, I'm working on building it, and I'm taking care of my family, right? And so a lot of
Yeah.
times young entrepreneurs can relate to that, and a lot of times we have a great connection with those clients.
Yeah, it's really good to acknowledge that too because you're seeing a lot of intimate details of what is kind of going down. I'm a lawyer, as you know, so we don't want to go too far into the weeds here. I'm not that I think you ever would, but have you ever seen any legal or compliance related issues in what you do that taught you something important about business or about leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'm gonna bring this towards an important part of how we really approach clients, and that is advisory team model. I know
Mm-hmm.
from both a compliance and legal perspective, I know what my seat in my lane is with clients, right? And
Right,
I'll bring up
right.
estate planning as a great one, tax is another one, where it's like, hey, we're going to scratch the surface, and I'm definitely dangerous enough on a bunch of these areas of financial planning. However, if we don't have, a qualified CPA or EA in that tax seat, if we don't have an estate planning attorney, a corporate attorney, an M&A attorney at our table, at our advisory team, then we're not doing the clients justice, and I think from just everyone knowing what their role is, which is to help the client get where they want to go, achieve their goals, how we all work together is the most important thing. I don't know if you've ever been to a farm, and have you seen a silo before?
Oh yeah, honey, I'm from Alabama.
Yeah. So are there any windows on silos?
No.
There's not. There's no windows, right? Well, that's how our business owners are operating. Every single partner they have they are living in silos, and they don't talk to each other.
It's so true, Will. That's a tragedy.
And that's one of the first things we talk about. It's like, hey, that's a problem. On a daily basis, I'm calling our clients' tax professionals and their lawyers and figuring out like, hey, these are the planning issues we're running into. How do we strategize to help them do what we need to do, right? To where we can take solutions to clients. And I think that's really where the industry is going. And that's how you have to work.
It is how you have to work. And it's also how the most successful people operate. Like we have family offices, right? So I was just explaining this to my husband the other day. He's like, what is a family office? And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. You can expound upon that more if you'd like to. But there is a definite shift that we're seeing in the marketplace toward a more holistic way of not just doing business as a leader, but also as how do we surround ourselves with the right people. And you're an entrepreneur, right? And maybe this is a little out there, but I see sometimes there, like you say silo too, the other silo that I see is like the echo chamber silo of entrepreneurship itself.
Yeah.
Which is a very like it's very self-made, it's very tough, it's very like brave, and I love it. That's why I love it. But also it hanging out in the same crowd and talking to the same type of people that you are all the time.
Yeah.
It creates an echo chamber, which is a silo as well. How do you deal with that's a difficult topic, right? I'm kind of springing this idea on you, but
yeah,
I want to just see, like, how do you deal with that? Because sometimes there's some pushback when you're trying to give folks good advice. There's pushback. How do you kind of help them see that your way is a good way to think about it, to bring all these people in? They may not want to hire these people. They may not want to pay these people, right?
Right.
How,
Yeah, I love that analogy, and I'm totally going to steal it.
Okay, I'm stealing yours too. I'm about to be like, you need a team.
And it is true. We run into that all the time. And me personally, like I fall into that, feeling I'm an entrepreneur. I have to figure everything out myself, right? Like I started something by myself and whatever else. And a lot of times have to remind myself what got me here is not going to get me there.
Exactly.
And there's also a great book I'd recommend to everybody, Who Not How, Dan Sullivan.
I love Dan Sullivan. Yes.
And it's something I need to make a plaque and put it up in my office because I think about it all the time, right? Even our clients, they're like, how do I solve this problem? How do I get from here to there? How do I do X, Y, Z? And that is never the question to ask. And it's always a who problem. When you think about every big thing that's happened in your life, career changes, good things like that have gotten you over the hump, it's always been a person. Every single time it's because you talked to somebody and they said, go here or do this, or someone's helped you get there, right? For me in my own personal life, it's, hey, I want to move houses in a couple of years, right? Well, instead of me trying to solve that problem all myself, it's like, why don't I just go hire a real estate agent that knows what they're doing in the area?
Exactly. So you don't want to be the for you, by you, or what is it? For sale by owner.
Right. And that applies to so much in our life that we don't have to do it ourselves, and just surrounding ourselves with the right people who already know the answers, who have already been through what you're trying to go through, the problems you're trying to solve is so important. And we remind not only myself, but our clients that all the time. It's like, please, like, you can do this on your own. I'm not saying you're not capable of doing this on your own, but day one in business school, they teach you about this thing called specialization.
Yeah.
It is really quite powerful in business when you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. And it's an acknowledgement too, like you said, that there's people that we need. We need other people. It's like saying that you're going to start a family today. You can go start a family by yourself. And many people do it. This is new. I have a good friend of mine, and she did this. She became a mom by herself. We would all agree, though, ideally, there's going to be another person and maybe even a village of people that are going to actually help you with that because it's hard. And there are things about it that you're maybe not the best person to answer and solve. And so
Right.
I think that, yeah, it just acknowledges the reality of humanity. It's a great book. I love that book. It also gets out of the trap of the perfectionism of trying to always be, and I say this to my team a lot. Just because I own this place doesn't mean I have all the answers about what needs to be happening here. How do you empower other people? How do looking towards the next generation of leaders, like what do you hope that those that work with you and for you understand about power, right? What does it mean to be really powerful and influential? And how do you do business in the right way when it's so easy to do it in the other way?
For sure. Every answer, I feel like I'm going to quote somebody. But Dan Martell is somebody else I follow a lot and is really, really great on, building teams and leadership, et cetera. But he has tons of frameworks, but he always talks about when you have someone that's working with you or under you, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it's better to really be ignorant as the owner and
Yeah,
power in letting someone figure things out for themselves instead of giving them the answer, because you're training someone, whether you know it or not. Every interaction you're training them, right?
it's true.
And
Yep.
so letting for us, we've got associates that work on our team that hopefully one day are going to be their own advisor and work with their own book of clients. And for me to just give someone all the answers, not let them strategically think and go swim on their own, I'm doing them a disservice, right? And it may take longer. They may fail, but that is so important in their growth, right? Both in the business, whatever their role is in the business. And so I think just as a leader, thinking about the things that made you so made an impact on you as you came up in the business, and not maybe like taking that away from other people, because it's important.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if I answered that question like exactly how you asked
No,
it, but
I think it's true because it touches on it. The type of leader you are indicates to other people how power and influence work.
right,
Because if I show up today and I want to tell you everything and I want to direct every part of what you're doing, and if I'm going to do that, what I am training you to believe is that some other human has power over you, i.e., me.
right,
I'm your boss. I mean, I sign your check. Yeah, okay. And that power trumps the human relationship and the influence that you have on each other.
right,
Because that's where I feel like servant leadership gets this so right, which is the power is in the mutual influence over the master and the servant, right? Not the top down, we're going to tell you what to do, and if you don't do it this way, you're out of here, buddy, you're gone,
right.
right? Like that. And it's also like I also think that so many people, I was looking at this morning a little bit and of another tangent. I should have warned you about these tangents
I love it.
before we
I
got
love
on today. I was looking this morning and it was something about toxic culture. You have
it.
to escape the toxic culture. Escape. You
That's right.
must escape. And I was like, man. And then I know I've been in rooms, maybe you haven't been in those rooms where I've been, but I've been in rooms on the other side of that. They're like toxic culture. I mean, what do you mean?
Right.
We're giving them jobs. We're providing their livelihood. This isn't a toxic. We got business to do. And I feel like there's like a bridge that we have to draw. I feel like you are trying to do it, right? Like you are trying to create a bridge between the idea of toxic culture, because that's why a lot of the maybe not younger, like Gen Z, this is not happening because they don't even care, honey. They're like, whatever, you're not going to tell me what to do.
Right.
But like young millennials, definitely. I'm on the older side. I'm not quite the Gen Xer, but I'm like just a few years away from that. There is this thing going on where it's these two voices, like that echo chamber idea. Do you do you see that too? Are you experiencing that in the conversations you're having? And how do you help? And if so, I guess I'll ask, how do you help draw conversations to a more balanced place when there's a lot of peer pressure around, right? Like, I don't know, some of these entrepreneurial groups, there's some peer pressure to be all about, the I don't know. Am I coming across with what I'm trying to ask? Because I'm
Yeah.
on a tangent here, but I'm interested in your perspective about this idea.
Yeah, I think I know where you're coming from, and really for me, and I can only speak for me personally, it's really taking a step back and figuring out like what is it you want and what do you want to build, you know? And there are businesses and business owners that want to build a more simple, one person centric lifestyle business. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? And you maybe need a couple key players to amplify one, and then that is what it is, right? And then there are other business owners who are okay taking a back seat, taking a hit on their ego and amplifying others for the betterment of the whole group. And it's two completely different models, and there's nothing wrong with either of them. It's just understanding, Simon Sinek says, like, you got to make sure you're climbing the right ladder, or else you're going to get to the top and look around and figure out where the heck am I.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's start like early on in someone's business, really trying to start with the end in mind. I always tell clients you have to build it like you're going to sell it. And in order to sell it, you've got to understand what you have, right? And so I've always been a big fan of abundance mentality. You know,
Yes.
there are more than enough dollars to go around. There are more than enough, opportunities for everybody. I'm a big fan. I say this, my people that work with me are going to laugh because I always say 1 + 1 has to equal 10, or else this does not make sense, right? We are
Yeah.
both wasting our time. And so when we choose to create a system within our organization to bring someone on or compensate somebody or whatever that is, it has to benefit both sides, and it has to create a better outcome, not only for us internally, but for the client and the end user as well. The most important thing, business owners or any individual leading really needs to focus and hone in on is the system. Like, what system are you building? So I relate this back to football. Let your players play. Like, your job is to recruit great players, get them on the bus, and then make sure they play to the best of their ability. Well, if they're constantly thinking about all of the things they shouldn't be, where to line up and what they should be doing, and they're constantly overthinking, they're not going to play to the best of their ability. So sometimes as a coach, as a leader, as a business owner, it's good to just set up your system and then shut up
Mm-hmm.
and just let your players play and let them be great. And same thing with your other coaches, your other managers, your other leaders. Give them the system and let them go do what they're best at. Those football fans out there, I don't think Nick Saban ever complained about losing one of his coaches when they became the next head coach somewhere.
Well, and I'm actually a Bama fan, so roll
Oh, I
Tide.
love it. I love it.
Yes, and I think Nick Saban obviously is the GOAT. But the other thing about that, which is so valid and important, he's written books on this actually too, because he's a brilliant man. But one of the results of that too is they became his biggest competitors, and they even beat him. Multiple of them
Yeah.
ended up beating him, and he never took those. I mean, I'm sure we saw a few curse words on the side there,
Yeah.
but like he didn't take it personally. He always wanted the best for them, just the same he wanted the best for his team. I love the football analogy because it's so easy. And I think, I don't know, we're in the South. Maybe it doesn't really fly. And well, I guess everybody here in America. And I think
Yeah.
even our international friends, they got their soccer, they got their polo, they got what they got. But it's
Yeah.
the same idea, the team. Do you talk to your team as a team, or do you talk to your team as a family, or is there something in between? I see different approaches here. I'm interested if you have one.
That's a good question. I think by default, I think everything in football terms. So like I feel like we're a team, you know, but I don't know if I've ever thought about it like actually thought about it.
We're team too.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I've heard something. I'm trying to think. You're very good with recalling where you hear all these ideas, and I'm like, I've read somewhere. But I feel like I've heard somebody talk about that idea of the family versus the team dynamic. But it creates more accountability. Like when you said 1 plus 1 should equal 10, or it doesn't make much sense. Let's break it down, right? Like maybe this isn't so obvious for every single listener.
Hmm.
If it's just me and you, Will, and we come out on the other side and we just have what we already had before we got here plus the other person what they had,
Yeah.
we haven't grown, right? Is that the way you intend that analogy?
Yeah, I don't think that way at all, right? Like I think back to our specialization conversation, right? Everyone is good at different things. Everyone has their own set of experiences and, what they enjoy to do, what they're good at, right? For example, you've grown up in an environment and you've learned so many things in your life, right? And I have too. And there's a world where if joined forces with someone else and you guys collaborated and started working together, you guys together are going to be able to go farther and produce way more than you would be able to individually just by combining skills. And I'll give you a very basic example in my industry, right? So our team, we've built to support the small business owner, those who, control their own income and have, certain problems in financial planning. Okay. Other firms aren't really built for that. There's some that are, but there's some that they're really good at working with 55-year-olds who are about to retire, and they're really good at creating retirement income strategies. They're not dealing with the same problems we are. We're in the same world, but we're not dealing. So if they had an opportunity with a business owner client, right, they're only going to be able to do so much. But if they came and they joined forces with us, we're probably both internally going to, have more success, and the client is going to get such a better outcome because we just put our heads together and started working on this solution for the client together. That to me is 1 + 1 = 10, right? And
Yeah,
and I think it really starts with putting your pride away and having an abundance mentality, going like, I don't have to solve all problems for every person on the face of the planet. Sometimes it's
absolutely.
okay to go ask for help, right? And really try and do what's best for the client, which means me taking a back seat and asking someone else to team up.
I love that. I love that. One of the things I say is, good leadership is about ethics, not ego.
Right.
And like we're all ego. We are all egos. Every single one of us is an ego. Like that's literally the Freudian model.
Yep.
And people hear the word ego and they're like, well, that's not me. I'm a good person. And it's like, yeah, but that's every person is an ego, and you have to check it. You're such a principled person. And I think that's what makes you a dynamic leader and someone that has influence. You have influence in the circle around you. And I love your football analogy and being a football coach. I was going to say something about Saban's greatness earlier when you were doing the coaching analysis,
Yeah.
and you said something, and I was like, let me not, he may not love saving the way I do, so let me not, but
Beautiful.
I'm glad you brought him up. And I kind of get some of those vibes from you too, Will. Like you have this, it's not about me. That's the vibes that I get from you. It's not about me, Will. It's about us. It's about the client. It's about alignment. Not every solution is for every client. We say not all money is good money, right? So I love everything you've talked about today. Let's not belabor because I know we got a lot to do and so do our great listeners. But I do want you to just close us out today and tell us, what do you want people to know about entrepreneurship, you, and like some motivational idea? You've spit a lot of those today, so but I'm sure there's more in there. What's the closing thought that you want to leave people with today? And then also, how can they find you? Because we're going to put your content or your contact info into our
Yeah.
show notes.
Yeah, for sure. And I want the listeners to know you did not tell me this was going to be the closing. So
I
I'm
did it.
for
Look
this
at this.
on the
I'm
spot.
saucy.
Um, but I'm gonna make another football analogy because I do genuinely think it's funny. I just posted on LinkedIn this morning about how football coaches have figured out so much about business that business owners really haven't figured out, But one of the first ones is I've won as a coach. I've won a state championship, and a lot of times all year you look forward to that, and that is everything. And then when you get there and the confetti's falling, and you can go ask anybody and listen to Tom Brady talk about this and Bill Belichick and everyone who's won a big championship, they get to the end and there's about 30 seconds of this is amazing. And then they start thinking about next year. Go ask Kirby Smart after they won the national championship in 2021 in Indianapolis. He hopped straight on a helicopter and was recruiting the next morning.
Wow.
So what does that mean about us and about business and whatever else? Is that there is no end goal. And maybe that the whole point of all of this is really just enjoying the process. And it's okay to be in the season of business that you're in, whether it's day one or 40 years in. It's just about enjoying the process and the people that you're with, the people that you're building it with and for, and taking every, ups and downs and all the stuff that business throws at us, the roller coaster that we ride every day, in stride and enjoying it, right? Enjoying the bad times just as much as the good, because you can't have the good without the bad. It's not always about making all the money or getting the big deal or whatever that is, because it's cool, but there's always something else. There's always next year, right? And sometimes when you look back, it's just about the people that you've impacted along the way and about the process. So that's probably what I'll
Love
leave
it.
everybody with
I love
today.
it. I love it, Will. Thank you. So how can they find you?
Yeah, I'm just LinkedIn. So Will Bearden on LinkedIn. You can find me. Our website is simply psawealth.com. That's really it. That's how people can get a hold of us and our team, and more than happy to help anybody who's out there.
Awesome. Definitely, everybody who's listening, Will is a great person to know. If you're here locally, you should definitely find him. You can find him around the Gwinnett Chamber.
That's
That's
right.
where I met. That's where I met you. And I just want to say, Will, you're a light in this community. We wish you the best with all of that you're doing. You're really this third year in as a young entrepreneur. And I am just very impressed with how you handle yourself and all of the great wisdom that you shared today. So thanks so much. Be sure to look in the show notes so you can see the links to what Will shared with you today. And as always, remember, you are on a roller coaster. You're on a roller coaster ride called entrepreneurship, leadership. And as Will just said so eloquently, it's about the process and the journey and the people along the way. And I appreciate that you took time to be on my journey here on More Than Legal. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to More Than Legal. Stay sharp, stay curious, and stay tuned for our next episode. Bye for now.